Hello my dear viewers, March 21st continues in our courtyard, and this material is devoted to military reports, although today there will be not quite military reports, but they will be included. And so, for starters, what is happening at the front now? And at the front, preparations are underway for a very serious blow. In fact, during the previous evening and night, more and more information came about what we would soon see in the Kurakhovo area, and in Izium. This is not the offensive of the Russian army, it is preparation for this very offensive. Moreover, in both the first and second cases, units of the Russian army are still simply preparing bridgeheads in order to deliver a decisive blow from there. And for this decisive blow, quite significant forces are drawn together. Yesterday, live Russian television showed how large landing ships, military equipment, and personnel are being unloaded at the seaport in Berdyansk. One day before, there were many videos of Russian vehicles moving through Melitopol. And again, everything is moving towards the Zaporozhye front. Huge columns of vehicles are moving from south to north, and are preparing to strike around Kurakhovo and Pokrovsk, and further, towards the so-called Kharkov front. And from Kharkov, there are also reports of the concentration of Russian significant forces. Moreover, not only American intelligence, but also Ukrainian sources are talking about this in hysteria. They are waiting for a powerful blow, which, judging by the thoroughness of the preparations, will most likely end in encirclement, and then the defeat of the entire Donetsk front. Karia. Well, in order to start this offensive, they are trying to finish the operation in Mariupol. By the way, near Mariupol, a very interesting moment happened here, a symbolic moment. Yesterday, the Russian command offered the Mariupol garrison to lay down their arms in exchange for life. That is, they were all promised life, just like in 1943 life was promised, surrounded by the army of Paulus near Stalingrad. And in the same way, in response to this proposal, today from Kyiv, as then from Berlin, a message came: there can be no surrender of Mariupol. You must fight to the end. But you know, here is such an interesting moment that really rolls us back to the events of 80 years ago, shows what we see today in many ways, not only in symbolism, reminiscent of those events. And no matter how much the current Kiev regime would not like to pretend to be the Soviet Union, however, they do not recognize these words. Today they are more and more reminiscent of Hitler's Germany, which in hysteria demands from its soldiers to fight to the end in order to prolong their agony. And I have such a very good, it seems to me, proposal. Further, in all cities liberated from the Kiev regime, hang the banner of victory on flagpoles. Copies of those banners that were hoisted over the Reichstag in 1945. It will also be symbolic. This is what the inhabitants of Ukraine will normally understand, why and for what is the fight going on today, and that this is not a fight against Ukraine and the Ukrainian people. This is a fight for Ukraine and for the Ukrainian people, equally for what our grandfathers and great-grandfathers fought for 80 years ago. By the way, they are also against their ideological predecessors, these same Banderites, with whom they also fought on the territory of Ukraine. And here, in fact, against this background, it makes little sense to say which settlements were yesterday, and also today, in the evening were occupied by Russian and Donetsk troops. The advance amounted to several kilometers, including in the Gorlovka area. Here I want to draw attention to another point. In fact, what I noticed about a week ago is that the Russian troops have changed their tactics of attacking the armed forces of Ukraine very much. It works. Remember when we reviewed 3 cases, this is Mirefa, Yavorov Polygon, Nikolov, Havrich went further, and today the Rivne region. That is, every time a powerful missile strike is delivered, as a result of which one or another unit of the Ukrainian troops ceases to be a military force. That is, it suffers a very significant loss of personnel and loses its combat capability. And here I would like to make a very important point. Rocket attack on the north of Kyiv, last night around 10, 11 p.m., the blow was struck, as the Kyiv authorities first stated, from an empty place. Actually, it's not like that. I have been watching this place for a very long time, and many residents told me that it was from here that the Ukrainian armed forces had been delivering strikes over the past weeks, including cannon artillery and rocket artillery. Moreover, rocket artillery from this place worked literally a few tens of minutes before the strike. And the fact that the blow hit the right place says that sometime after it was applied, the detonation of the ammunition began. That is, the blow fell in the right place. And it is very likely that these batteries of the armed forces of Ukraine, primarily active multiple launch rocket system STRAD, which worked for 2 weeks approximately from this area. Now they won't work here anymore. In fact, they greatly interfered with the advance of Russian troops north of Kyiv. I understand that now the promotion will be much more successful. And there is a very remarkable moment. I looked at several social networks about this blow. So, the residents of Kyiv on this particular occasion did not ask the question, why us? Moreover, I also want to emphasize separately that the blow was not accidentally delivered in the evening, so that no one from civilians suffers as much as possible. As a result of this strike, there were no casualties among the civilian population. The Russian troops are trying to do this, I emphasize constantly, and everyone is really already noticing this. They are trying to do it in such a way that the civilian population is not affected to the maximum. And the blow to the north of Kyiv is very clear in this matter. Here is a very interesting observation. This is about what I can say today, at about 11 a.m. Moscow time, March 21, 2020, on the situation on the fronts of Ukraine. And also, taking this opportunity, I would like to recommend one very important and interesting article by my comrade Mikhail Onufrienko, who was trying to figure it out. Is Ukraine united? And who is for the inhabitants of Ukraine, of certain regions, theirs, and who simply profits from them? And I came to very interesting, quite logical conclusions. I highly recommend the material for viewing. A link to it is given in the text line under the video. It will appear right now in front of your eyes. That's all for now. Goodbye.
До свидания.